Bonjour, mes amis. Hi, everyone. Jeffrey Michael here, and welcome to another spine-tingling edition of Jeffrey Michael's Movie Reviews Extravaganza. In this video, I will cover the movies that were released on October the 13th, 2017. So the first movie that I will cover in this video is Happy Death Day, rated PG-13. It stars Jessica Rothe and is directed by Christopher Landon, who is the son of actor Michael Landon, who you know from Little House on the Prairie, Happy Death Day is about a college girl named Tree. She wakes up on her birthday in a dorm room that isn't hers. Although the boy insists they did nothing over the night, she still makes the walk of shame out of his room and out into the quad, where a goth guy checks her out, a petitioner asks her to sign her clipboard, sprinklers are ignited, the car alarm goes off, a lot of stuff happens. And throughout the day, we're introduced to all the characters, in her life, and we find out she's not exactly nice, kind of a mean girl. And all of that comes to a head at her surprise birthday party that night, when a mysterious figure dressed in black, wearing a creepy baby face mask, approaches her at the party. And, before she can say or do anything, that person takes out a knife and stabs her to death. And before you can say plot twist, she wakes up again in that guy's dorm room, who insists they didn't do anything. Confused, she goes back onto the quad, where a goth guy checks on her. Someone asks to sign her clipboard. Sprinklers are ignited, the car alarm goes off, and she's all confused as to why all this is happening again. And as she goes throughout the night, that mysterious, baby face masked person shows up again and stabs her and kills her again. And she wakes up once again in that guy's dorm room. Now, I know what you're all thinking here, and I agree. Sometime before this movie was made, a producer and executive was like, "Hey guys, I got a great idea. Let's rip off Groundhog Day as a slasher film." "Oh yeah, good idea, boss." Yeah, I knew it was. And so it was done. But you know what? Despite its not very original premise, I actually found this movie surprisingly good. But more on that in a minute. So as she keeps repeating, dying and waking up on her birthday cycle, Tree starts to realize, I'm not quite a nice person. And she's been like this because her mother, who she shares a birthday with, died a couple years ago. And it kind of changed her, not in a good way. So, she vows to start being better along the way. And in order to break up this, death day cycle she's trapped in, she eventually realizes she has to solve the identity of her killer. Now, who is the killer? Could it be that one guy that she had a date with who is now stalking her? Or her roommate? Or the sorority president? Etc. Now, I don't mean to toot my own horn, but I pretty much figured out who it was right away, so... No, I'm just kidding. I've just seen so many of these whodunit movies that I've got like a 90% success rate now. Well, like I said earlier, this movie was actually pretty good. I mean, I think the director Christopher Landon realized early on people were going to make these, inevitable Groundhog Day comparisons. So he's like, you know what, guys? Let's just go, completely tongue-in-cheek. Let's not take this so seriously. Let's have some, horror comedy and, intentionally hilarious lines. And for the most part, he succeeded. Because, I found myself thoroughly entertained for 90 minutes straight. And, there's horror moments that make your spine tingle. There's great comedy bits that'll make you laugh. And even one or two surprisingly touching moments, that I was surprised by. Especially a scene where Tree makes up with her estranged father. Now, it's not perfect. I mean, there are some parts that don't make sense, plot holes. And some parts that'll make you cringe. Like, did they really think they could get away with that? But, because it is tongue-in-cheek and, lighthearted, tone, I was willing to overlook those, flaws. So overall, I think I would give this movie a solid B. Yes, you heard me. If you're looking for a film where you can just sit back, turn your brain off, don't overthink it, and just be nicely entertained thoroughly for 90 minutes, well, then this film is for you. Okay, so with that, let's move on to our next movie review. I will look at the movie The Foreigner, rated R. It stars Jackie Chan and Pierce Brosnan, and was directed by Martin Campbell, who brought you such films as Casino Royale, GoldenEye, and Green Lantern. Now, before I get started, I would just like to say I think Jackie Chan has taken over for Liam Neeson in the older actor Revenge for My Daughter Shoot 'em Up action film. Because Jackie Chan, stars as Quan, a retired Special Forces operator now running a Chinese restaurant in London. In the movie's opening scene, he loses his teenage daughter to a terrorist bombing. And, he, like any normal person, he vows revenge against those horrible bombers, because it'd be a pretty short movie if he didn't. um, so he goes to the government officials and he demands to know the names of these bombers so he can track them down and destroy them. Now, of course, these officials, led by Pierce Brosnan, are not willing to do that, and they tell him to, go on, live your life. And, let's just say, being the kung fu master that he is, he's definitely not going to go walk away quietly. Now, I would say that this movie was okay. It was meh at best. I mean, it really was just a generic action film. Although, I must say, the one positive that really elevates this movie above average was the great performance by Jackie Chan. I mean, I gotta say, Jackie Chan usually plays the stereotypical action role, but this time he really brought a gravitas and a depth to a man who really, lost his whole world when he lost his only daughter. And this is like, after the Lego Ninjago movie, this is the second movie in a month that Jackie Chan almost saved single-handedly. But overall, sadly, I would give this one a C+. Unless you're a big Jackie Chan fan, I don't know if I would recommend this one. Sorry. So the next movie that I will cover in this video is Marshall, rated PG-13. It stars Chadwick Boseman, Josh Gad, and Kate Hudson, and it is based on the first African-American Supreme Court Justice, Thurgood Marshall. Now, before I begin, I must say Chadwick Boseman appears to be the go-to guy in Hollywood for all the historical African-American male figures. I mean, he played Jackie Robinson in 42, James Brown in Get On Up, and now Thurgood Marshall in Marshall. I mean, what up, Hollywood? Other brothers need jobs too, So anyway, Marshall focuses on an earlier period in Thurgood Marshall's life. Before he was Supreme Court Justice, he worked as a lawyer for the NAACP, where he focused on cases where he protected innocent colored people who were accused of crimes they didn't commit. So the movie focuses on one of the most infamous cases early in his career, where he, along with Jewish lawyer Sam Friedman, played by Josh Gad, helps protect a black man who is accused of raping and attempted murder against the rich white woman, played by Kate Hudson, that he worked for. Now, overall, I thought this was a pretty good movie. I mean, it was a nice period drama, immaculately detailed, and electric performance from Chadwick Boseman. I mean, he did a good job, showcasing who Marshall was. If I had one quibble, though, I would say, the movie focused a bit on Josh Gad's character and on the case itself, but I kind of wish it focused a little bit more on, Thurgood Marshall's life, because, the movie is about him. I mean, there is a poignant moment in the movie where, his wife is expecting a child while he's away, and she suffers a miscarriage, and he can't be there for her, and it's very touching. But I kind of wish there was more dynamic to that relationship that we didn't get to see enough in the movie. But overall, though, I mean, it was a great overall, searing drama, and she did a good job of showcasing like who Thurgood Marshall was and why he was so important to African American and all of human history. Overall, I would give this one a B. It's a really good movie. I would recommend it. Go see it. Okay, so the last movie that was released on October the 13th was Professor Marston and the Wonder Women, rated R. It stars Luke Evans, Rebecca Hall, and Bella Heathcote, and was directed by Angela Robinson. Now, this is the second movie in 2017 that focuses on Wonder Woman. The first one, of course, being Wonder Woman movie that was released over the summer. That was actually one of the best movies of the year so far, in my opinion. So if you haven't seen Wonder Woman yet, I mean, it's out now, so no excuses. Go and see it now. So the second movie about Wonder Woman in 2017, this one, focuses on the beginning, or rather origin, of Wonder Woman back in 1941. Her creator was Professor William Marston, who was a professor at Harvard and Radcliffe Colleges, and his wife Elizabeth, at the time, were both working on an early prototype for the lie detector. And fun fact, by the way, he created an early prototype for the lie detector, and Wonder Woman has her, famous golden lariat that she uses to force people to tell the truth. A coincidence? I think not. And they both, anyway, he and his wife Elizabeth both find themselves falling in love with one of his female students, Olive Byrne, played by Bella Heathcote. And it turns out, she finds out too that in the process that she has fallen in love with both of them as well. And so they go against what society expects of them, and they form a polyamorous relationship. Now, you can imagine, I mean, that's kind of slightly frowned upon nowadays, but back then, whew, that was pretty much taboo. I mean, that could have been career killing. And in fact, both William and Elizabeth end up losing their jobs. Uh-oh. But they still decide to go ahead with, with their relationship and even start to form a family. He has, children with both women. Wow. And, to make ends meet, he ends up, getting a job as a writer, and he ends up in the process coming up, with his, knowledge of dominating, submission, and bondage. He ends up creating the character Wonder Woman, and both of the women in his life are huge inspirations to him. Now, in the process, because of it becomes controversial because, with the subject of bondage and hints of lesbianism, Wonder Woman, is become a controversial figure for her time. Now, the movie I thought was a really good one overall. I mean, it does a really good job of showcasing, the acting from all three leads is great, and it does a good job of showcasing, three people who, the relationship overall that they experience throughout their lives. Now, I kind of wish that the movie was more historically accurate to the real-life tale. I mean, it was the movie makes it look like he came up with Wonder Woman on his own, and the two women were against it because no one would buy it. But it was actually in real life his wife Elizabeth who came at the idea they should create a female superhero, and he was all, "Oh, I want to create a character who fights not with fire or fists, but with love." And her response, "Fine, but make her a woman." Unfortunately, that bit didn't make the movie, and also in real life, the two women were more like sisters than actual lovers. He was actually in love with both of them, but they weren't so much. But overall, though, I think it did a great job of showcasing, how Wonder Woman was created and, showing, three minds that were way ahead of their time. Overall, this one I would give a nice B+. This is the second great Wonder Woman movie of the year. So, go ahead and see this one. I highly recommend this one. Recap! Happy Death Day. B. A surprisingly entertaining horror comedy whodunit film. See it. The Foreigner. C+. Meh film slightly elevated by Jackie Chan's performance. I wouldn't recommend it though. Marshall. B. A really nice respectable drama highlighting an early part of Thurgood Marshall's life. See it. And finally, Professor Marston and the Wonder Woman, B+, the second great Wonder Woman movie released this year, highlighted by a trio of great performances. My number one recommendation in this video, see it. Okay, and that'll do it once again for another great edition of Jeffrey Michael's Movie Reviews Extravaganza. Until next time, happy movie watching, everybody. So long for now.